great question, and it's very, very relevant. Obviously, a lot of people are thinking about this, particularly me, given the industry that I'm working in. And I'm looking out the window and I'm looking at the offices here in East Point, and it's Sunday morning and it's pretty quiet in here at the moment, but it has been quiet for quite a few weeks now. And for me, it's a worrying time looking out and sort of wondering you need a crystal ball to really understand what is happening. A lot of people are saying that the office is dead. A lot of people are saying once a vaccine is found, the office will bounce back. And I'm going to give you my views on it. First of all, the willingness of staff to commute 5 days a week. I think you're already seeing a major shift in mindset and behavior of workers and management. First of all, management did not believe that it was actually possible for people to work from home. Huge numbers of people just thought, can't be done. The only way this can work is if you have people coming into the office so you can keep your beady eyes on them and you can kind of look over their shoulder and make sure they're doing their work. And that has proven to be wrong. And a lot of big banks and a lot of big places that had hundreds of people, thousands of people coming in every day to big, huge offices in the city centre and stuff, they have suddenly found that this is actually working. People are working from home. The productivity may have suffered slightly, but that could be down to childcare issues rather than actual people from working from home. And so I think it is proven that work from home is possible. The longer term questions, I guess, are going to be around corporate culture and just people's preferences and also loyalty from your staff. I think a lot of it is to do with if you go into work and you meet your friends and you get to know people and you're kind of having a bit of a laugh with them and the banter. And here in East Point, we have a tennis court and we have a five-a-side football court. And those two places are places where people interact from the offices. They come out, they play in the evening and stuff. And that is a great outlet and a great way to kind of socialize with your workers. If you're working for home for weeks and weeks, it's going to be one of those things that you're just going to find, I think, that it starts to erode the corporate culture. So that is one of the things that the next thing that you've got to remember is that I think actually not remember, it's something that we've already started to notice is that there is definitely we're starting to see migration out of the major cities. And I saw an article in the papers in the last day or two about people moving out of London. And I've been hearing here in Ireland that there are people looking at houses now down in Cork and Kerry, which is a long way from from the capital. And I think it's down to people believing that they can have a better lifestyle. They can have a beautiful home that costs a fraction of what it would in the capital city. They can have another thing going for them insofar as they can be closer to their family. You can have more land, the cheaper the house. You can have a nice lifestyle and you can basically commute maybe one day a week or every other week. And in the interim, you just meet people virtually and you work from home. And that's going to be a very interesting development. And it's something that I'm actually looking at myself and thinking, yeah, I could actually see myself having a nice home further out, maybe an hour from the city and living there, enjoying a nicer lifestyle, being closer to my kids and stuff like that, but having the ability to drive in when I need to meet somebody if it is important that you have a face-to-face meeting. But working from home, if you've got the ability to have your own home office or something like that, that is definitely attractive. And so shorter commutes as well. I don't know anybody who's going to miss sitting an hour or so in the traffic or standing in a train or a crowded bus for 90 minutes on the way in. It's just not attractive. And it means I actually sent out a social media poll in the last few days. I asked people on a couple of different locations how it was impacting them. And one person wrote back saying that it's great that she gets up at 6:30 in the morning now instead of having to get up at 3:30 in the morning. And that, she's got basically 2 extra hours in bed and then she gets to work nice and early. And I was thinking, God, how many people have to kind of get up at that ungodly hour to get into work, to commute? And that is definitely going to be something that is not missed by a lot of people. Also, more effective, it's going to be more effective provided the childcare issue is solved. And so working from home is great if you are sitting at home at the kitchen table and you don't have your kids hanging out of you. During the lockdown, I was at home for a couple of weeks, for the 7 weeks, And my little daughter was constantly coming in and wanting to play and things like that. And, it's hard to say no to a 3-year-old. They don't really understand what's happening. They don't understand that you have hard work on your agenda. And so it was difficult. And I think productivity does suffer in that situation. But if you're at home and nobody's there to sort of interrupt you, I don't see the difference really. And in fact, it maybe can be even more productive because you can switch off the phone and you're not going to be interrupted and things like that. I don't think the majority of people want to return to how it was with those 2-hour commutes and crowded buses and trains and stuff. But the vaccine may change that. If people start to feel like that the COVID-19 has been fully eradicated, you might start to see a gradual return to how it was and people just getting more comfortable. And you will probably see there may be a bifurcation of the career opportunities that you have. So if you're a person who is kind of a go-getter and wants to kind of advance forward, being close to your boss and being somebody who gets seen to be, very active and very proactive, those people tend to get promoted quicker than somebody who's sitting at home, working away, getting their work done. And so you may find that there's a little bit of competition starts to creep back in with people coming in order to kind of be seen, I guess. And so that will be interesting. But definitely, there's been a mixed response to the social media poll I put out there, with a lot of people saying they just don't want to return to work. They like working from home. But then equally, I had people saying that they hate working from home and that they miss the interaction and they miss the ability to catch up with friends and get out of the house, and that sort of geographical spread or that geographical distancing. Some people, missing the office very much and want to get back to it. The whole social scene is important to them. And I think what you're going to find is it depends on whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. And I'm going to get into that a little bit further later in the episode. So going back to Robert's question, opportunities outside the major cities. Yes, I definitely believe there is going to be a shift towards flex space or co-working as it's kind of known. And we have we're all familiar now with WeWork and the likes of it. But you've got the problem with COVID-19 is just the total uncertainty that everybody has out there at the moment. You have an office which is very large fixed cost, and it's sitting there. You're paying the rent every month, whether it's empty or full. And obviously, large businesses may be able to kind of weather that storm. There'll be a lot of smaller businesses, though, that this is pretty critical, and they could easily fail if things don't kind of return to normal. And so I do believe there's going to be a lot of corporates out there not willing to sign up to longer leases for the foreseeable future. I think there's going to be shorter term commitments that will be the kind of the call that they're all looking for. And for example, 5-year, 10-year leases, things like that. I think we're going to struggle to find those from the smaller businesses. Maybe the larger ones, I think they're always going to need a certain amount of space. But if you're looking at the flexible space, that is going to be something I think, and already I've heard that WeWork have reported profitability much earlier than they expected. And I think that is down to the fact that they have flexible, available space for a lot of these big corporates. And it also allows people to kind of give their people that are not able to work from home for childcare reasons or whatever, to actually go in and have a space that they can work from. So, and also it means that, you pay for your 50 desks or whatever it is that you need, and you can cancel it at a month's notice or whatever. So that is definitely going to be attractive to a lot of corporate occupiers. And then it's going to get down to preferences of individual workers, where, again, if you're into working from home, it's not going to be an issue for you. But if you've got a preference for working away from home, from getting out of the house and leaving to go to an office, then having a flex option close to your home. So that could be commuter towns where you're living might actually find that there is suddenly an uptick in demand for the likes of co-working space or flexible offices. And the likes of Regis, where you can rent a small office, and that can be your postal address, and then your staff could just work from home. I have already actually seen that happening here in East Point. One of our occupiers has moved to a full work from home model, and they're not coming back. But equally, I have heard some of their staff members saying that they're not happy about it, and they'll probably look for a job that actually has a fixed office. So there you go, a lot of food for thought, and definitely don't think people are going to be wanting to return to long commutes and sitting in crowded public transport because of the safety issues as well with COVID at the moment, obviously. Yeah, the second lockdown is going to be the big risk. If we hit, and already a lot of places are going into second lockdown, you're seeing an uptick in the number of COVID cases, and so suddenly it's becoming a bit of an issue again. And I think a lot of people are going to be saying, well, this could be a recurring theme for the next couple of years, or certainly a next year, 18 months. And therefore, I think there could be demand for flex office. The problem is going to be, the challenge is going to be, how long is it going to last? And that is the complete uncertainty that we all face. The good thing about, these flex offices is that it's a short-term commitment. So if somebody signs up to 50 desks, they have them for however long they need them. And then COVID is solved and it goes back to the way it is. And I do believe that it's only a matter of time before we go into a full second lockdown. It may not be full national, it may be localized, it may be, a certain city or whatever. It all depends on how well behaved people are and how well they can manage to get this thing under control. But if you've got an office building in a regional town and you turn it into flex space, I think you could find that there's an uptick of demand. The question is going to be, if a vaccine is found and COVID-19 is eradicated and things can go back to normal, will there be that demand to keep a regional town office full? And also, you've got to try and convince banks and investors, if you're going to go into this and if you're going to go and spend the money to fit out, to build and fit out a nice fancy office for people to come and take up, are you going to actually have the income that people can be guaranteed to pay your debt down and things like that? You're going to have a situation where somebody comes along, wants 50 desks, they may pay you a big premium for that, but the question is going to be, how long will that be? If there's a second lockdown and everyone has to kind of go back to working from home, that's going to be your flex office space now vacant. And if you're vacant, then you're not able to pay your debts and stuff. So I think there's a lot of challenges to this, and you're going to have to try and convince your investors that the premium you charge is worth the risk of, losing the income when it shuts down. And it's going to be down to, I guess, whether society is ready to move forward. And I'm thinking about this in a lot of detail myself, because I think there's actually a big shift in the way offices are built, managed, and the way they're run and operated. And I think the landlord is going to have to get into much more of a hospitality type role, where they're more active in this kind of co-working and flex space type management role, whereas before we just leased an office and that was